In a world shrouded in uncertainty, one question echoes ominously: is Europe on the brink of war with Russia? As tensions escalate, the actions of Moscow have left governments, analysts, and citizens alike on edge. Since the invasion of Ukraine in early 2022, the Kremlin's ambitions have begun to reveal themselves, hinting at far larger targets beyond Ukrainian borders. The message is clear: NATO may soon find itself in the crosshairs. Martin Jaeger, Germany's newly appointed chief of intelligence, has raised alarms, warning that an attack on a NATO nation could happen sooner than anyone expects. His voice carries weight. He's seasoned in international politics, having served in various roles that intersect government and intelligence for years. On October 13, he delivered a chilling message at a public hearing in Berlin, proclaiming that NATO must be ready, for the threat is not a distant possibility but an immediate concern. The chilling words resounded: "We are already under fire today." Jaeger's warnings are echoed by military leaders across Europe, such as General Alexis Grinkowicz, who foresee the potential for World War III within the next few years if current power dynamics persist. He likened the looming threat to a dark storm on the horizon, urging for immediate preparations to ramp up defenses. Meanwhile, NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte emphasized the urgency of military readiness against a backdrop where existing diplomacy has failed. As tension mounts, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky remains vigilant, describing NATO's defense as crucial to stop Russia's advances. The Kremlin's tactics have evolved into a hidden war, combining traditional military maneuvers with espionage and subversion. As the drama unfolds, whispers of sabotage and attacks emerge within European states, indicating that the Kremlin's strategy is not merely confined to direct confrontation. The alarming trend of drone incursions strikes fear into the hearts of many. Recently, German authorities flagged drones suspected of spying, linked through flying irregularities over Polish and Estonian airspace. A wave of sightings, bolstered by irregular drone behavior by Russian forces, raises glaring questions. What is their true intention? As awareness swells, it's evident that the Kremlin uses every tool at its disposal: drones, cyber assaults, and misinformation, to erode European stability. One particular incident stood out starkly in the chaos: a fire at a German military production facility, believed by some to be a sabotage attempt orchestrated by Russian operatives. While official investigations cited a technical fault, whispers of hidden agendas linger, hinting at a broader scheme of disruption against Western military capabilities. The interconnected web of incidents suggests a well-orchestrated approach designed to undermine NATO and its supporting nations. With each passing moment, the uneasy landscape of international relations reveals a tale of uncertainty, shadows of sabotage, and a looming sense of impending conflict. Drones and disinformation become vehicles of warfare, signaling that the strategies of the past are morphing into something more insidious, a war that may soon erupt into violence. Leaving Europe desperately seeking answers. Will NATO stand united against this treacherous tide, or will the shadows of war engulf them? The clock is ticking, and soon the simmering tensions could boil over into a confrontation that will reshape the world as we know it. In July 2024, a covert operation against one of Europe's leading defense CEOs was thwarted. Rheinmetall, Germany's largest arms manufacturer, became the target of a sinister Russian assassination plot. This company is renowned for producing vital military equipment, including armored vehicles, artillery systems, and naval vessels. The mastermind of this intended hit was Pat Perger, the chairman of Rheinmetall, whose unwavering commitment has been crucial in supplying Ukraine with the means to resist relentless Russian assaults. Thanks to the vigilance of German and American security forces, this deadly scheme was uncovered and dismantled before it could claim its intended victim. However, the failed attempt unveiled a chilling truth about Russia's brazen tactics in its ongoing shadow war against the West. One NATO official ominously declared, "We are witnessing sabotage, assassination attempts, and acts of arson." This is a strategic campaign with severe consequences. The chaos didn't stop at the assassination attempt. In another alarming incident on June 26, 2024, a suspected arson attack ignited multiple military trucks linked to Rheinmetall in the city of Erfurt. Pro-Russian channels rejoiced, openly claiming responsibility for this egregious act. While German authorities have yet to officially assign culpability to Russia, an ongoing investigation has been launched, revealing a troubling pattern of aggressions dating back to the onset of the war. Furthermore, prior to these events, the only significant cyber attack targeting Rheinmetall occurred in April 2023. This incident leveraged the notorious Black Bastard ransomware group, a hack aligned with tactics usually associated with Kremlin-affiliated operatives. As the stakes escalate and the shadows deepen, Germany has made multiple arrests related to espionage operations, underscoring the pervasive threat of Russian influence and sabotage spread across NATO territory. Amidst this web of intrigue, one pressing question lingers: how far is Russia willing to go to undermine the stability of Europe, and what does this mean for the future of international relations? As whispers of war grow louder, each piece of the puzzle reveals an unsettling reality: a cold confrontation is looming. The audacity of these attacks raises the specter of a wider conflict, one no longer confined to whispers, but roaring to life with each passing day. In the shadow of the ongoing war, the world is holding its breath. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in early 2022, the looming question has transformed into a chilling reality: where will the Kremlin strike next? Insight from intelligence experts suggests that Russia is targeting something far more substantial: a direct confrontation with NATO. As tensions rise, the stakes have never been higher. Enter Martin Jaeger, Germany's intelligence chief. With years of experience in international affairs, Jaeger holds a wealth of knowledge that commands attention. He recently delivered a stark warning: an attack by Russia on a NATO nation could happen sooner than many anticipate. The phrase "cold peace" echoes in his warnings, reflecting a state of tension that teeters on the brink of chaos, a reminder that peace is often just a veneer. During a recent intelligence session in Berlin, Jaeger made headlines, stating that NATO's need for vigilance is now more critical than ever. "Do not think this will drag on until 2029, he cautioned. His words resonate like a siren in the night, urgent and alarming. This isn't the first time high-ranking officials have voiced similar fears. General Alexis Grinkowicz, the supreme Allied commander in Europe, has previously proclaimed that we may only be a couple of years away from potential global conflict, with synchronized attacks from Russia and China on the table. The calls for heightened defense preparations and increased military readiness from NATO leaders confirm the unsettling consensus: vigilance is non-negotiable. Ukraine's own president, Volodymyr Zelensky, has been the leading voice amplifying these concerns. He asserts that while the Ukrainian forces keep the Kremlin's ambitions contained, any perceived weakness might tempt Russia to unleash its aggression against NATO. Each day is fraught with uncertainty, an invisible countdown to conflict. The atmosphere grows heavier as Germany's very own intelligence community openly acknowledges their perception of Russia's maneuvers. Cyber attacks, drone incursions, and disinformation campaigns indicate a broader strategy aimed at destabilizing NATO. Jaeger warns that these aggressive tactics represent a new level of confrontation, silently attempting to undermine Europe's resolve. Germany faces the brunt of this tension. It stands as a primary target for the Kremlin. Recent drone incursions and other suspicious incidents have raised the alarm about Moscow's intentions. A sense of unease permeates through the air. A recent encounter saw over 20 Russian drones trespassing into Polish airspace, resulting in NATO's immediate military response. The incident was more than just a mere accident. It signified a challenge to NATO's integrity and response capabilities. As the dust settles, further complexities unravel. Russian aircraft repeatedly intrude upon NATO airspace, a manifestation of brazen aggression. The Kremlin brushes these violations aside as misunderstandings, but the world has reached a point of exhaustion with such lies. Zelensky aptly summarizes the situation: these are calculated moves, not mistakes. In recent months, Europe has seen a surge of Russian-hosted operations, some targeting critical infrastructures, such as airports and military bases. Drones and unidentified aircraft have infiltrated sovereign spaces, heightening not just military but also societal tensions across the EU. Amid the whirlwind of espionage and sabotage, the importance of collaboration becomes pivotal. Intelligence agencies across Europe are striving to counter Russian disruptions. While they strive to stay one step ahead, an invisible threat lingers. How many agents remain undetected, maneuvering within the shadows to ignite chaos? Jaeger's admonitions resonate amidst all this turmoil. Europe must become a bastion of unity and strength. As the geopolitical landscape shifts beneath our feet, the call to action has never been clearer. It is an age where restraint can be misconstrued as weakness. The future of European security hangs in the balance, and the time for decisive action is now. A confrontation could erupt at any moment, and the world watches, waiting for the next chapter in this harrowing tale. In recent discussions, Martin Jaeger urged the NATO alliance and the European Union to take a stand against the mounting threats posed by Russia. He emphasized that the current moment demands not just caution, but decisive action. Any hesitation might be perceived as weakness by adversaries, potentially leading them to exploit vulnerabilities. The stakes are as high as they have ever been, with Jaeger clearly stating that an overt confrontation between Russia and NATO could escalate at any time. While direct attacks involving bombs and missiles have yet to occur, the Kremlin is aggressively employing covert strategies to destabilize NATO from within. With the alliance being subjected to various tactics, it becomes imperative not to remain passive observers. Jaeger highlighted the necessity for resilience and an unwavering readiness to confront potential aggressors. The imminent developments in German military technology, particularly a next-generation tank destroyer, indicate that adversaries are already feeling the pressure. This advancement could turn enemy armor into debris. As the war progresses, there's growing anticipation about Ukraine's evolving military capabilities and how this could shift the balance in the coming months. Will they seize the momentum and push towards a decisive victory? The clock is ticking, and Europe's future hangs in the balance. With covert operations underway and threats multiplying, who will emerge victorious in this high-stakes game of power? Be aware, as unseen forces maneuver in the shadows, impacting nations as they go. The future of Europe and its integrity could hinge on actions taken today. What will it take to secure peace, and can NATO rise to the challenge in time? In the shadows of a brewing storm, foreboding whispers begin to emerge from the heart of Europe. What if the threat looming over NATO was closer than anyone dared to imagine? As tensions rise, the world finds itself asking, could a Russian attack on a NATO ally be imminent? The unsettling atmosphere thickens when Martin Jaeger, Germany's intelligence chief, steps into the spotlight. His years of service, including his influential role as the president of the Federal Intelligence Service, lend weight to his alarming prediction. On October 13, during a decisive public hearing in Berlin, Jaeger warned that Russia's designs extend far beyond Ukraine. He declared that NATO nations must steel themselves for an impending conflict that could erupt with little warning. It is crucial to understand, he stressed, that we might not be waiting until 2029 for a Russian provocation. The cadence of his voice resonated through the room, echoing the sentiments shared by other military leaders, like General Alexis Grinkowicz from the United States. Grinkowicz echoed the alarming truth: we might be only a few years away from a catastrophic global conflict. Yet, Jaeger's concerns reach a heightened level of urgency. To him, the line between war and peace has become a mere illusion. He emphasizes that Russia is not just probing NATO's defenses, it is actively working to destabilize Europe through various means. The encroachment of Russian drones into NATO airspace paints a stark picture of provocation. In a brazen act, over 20 drones crossed from Ukraine into Poland, prompting a swift military response. The atmosphere buzzed with tension as NATO countries engaged in Operation Eastern Century, bolstering defensive positions. Days passed, but the eerie calm proved deceptive. Reports of Russian jets invading Estonia's airspace multiplied, with 3 MiG-31 fighters crossing a line that had already been breached multiple times that year. The audacity shocked observant leaders, with Estonia's foreign minister remarking on the unprecedented nature of this incursion. Kremlin denials regarding their military's strategic maneuvers have fallen on deaf ears. World leaders and analysts are discerning the pattern. As Ukraine's President Zelensky asserted, these are not mere accidents. They're calculated movements in an ongoing war. And just as the tension reaches a boiling point, unsettling signs emerge across Europe. From Denmark to Norway, strange unmanned aircraft buzz ominously over sensitive military installations and airports, leading to emergency shutdowns. In Germany, drone sightings instill fear of espionage. Authorities remain on high alert, validating suspicions that go beyond chance encounters. As the interconnected web of incidents unfolds, questions linger unanswered. Is panic setting in, or are we merely witnessing the prelude to a larger score yet to be played? The unseen threat: is NATO the next target? Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in early 2022, uncertainty has loomed over global politics. Analysts and governments simultaneously pondered a chilling question: what would Vladimir Putin's next move be? The alarming truth is becoming clearer: the Kremlin is not stopping at Ukraine. Instead, its sights are now set on an even larger target: the NATO alliance. Renowned intelligence expert, Martin Jaeger, head of Germany's Federal Intelligence Service, warns that an assault on a NATO nation may not be a distant possibility but an imminent reality. Jaeger bears profound experience, having served in key positions within Germany's political structure, including as state secretary and ambassador to critical nations like Afghanistan and Ukraine. Appointed president of the BND in September 2025, he is only the 14th to hold this position since its establishment in 1956. When Jaeger speaks, the stakes elevate. On October 13, during a sobering session in Berlin, he sounded the alarm, asserting that a Russian attack on Europe could occur any day. We cannot afford to assume that any potential assault is years away, he cautioned the assembly of intelligence leaders and lawmakers. The weight of his words resonated deeply, signaling a pressing need for vigilance among NATO members. Not just Jaeger, but various European leaders echo this foreboding sentiment. General Alexis Grinkowicz, commanding U.S. European forces, foresees the onset of World War III, as soon as 2027, due to potential coordinated strikes from Russia and China. In stark terms, he called upon military leaders to bolster munitions and defenses across NATO. Likewise, Mark Rutte, the NATO Secretary General, suggests that Europe may soon need to learn Russian unless its military capabilities are improved drastically. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has also raised alarms, stating that ongoing delays in Russia's plans hinge on their aggression being focused on Ukraine. However, he warns that at any moment, Russia might exploit weaknesses in NATO's defenses. Jaeger stressed that the Kremlin's probing for vulnerabilities is already taking place, declaring, "We are under fire today." His formidable claim underscores that Europe currently resides in a state of cold peace that can quickly escalate into open conflict at any time. This rising tension echoes the words of the German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, who paint a similarly grim picture. "We are not formally at war," he admits, but the state of relationships is no longer peaceful. The invisible line separating peace from war is becoming alarmingly blurred as Russia employs increasingly subtle tactics to undermine NATO. Russia's activities, such as drone intrusions into NATO airspace and cyber attacks, signify a deliberate strategy to destabilize Europe. The frequency of these provocations suggests a strategy grounded in espionage and misinformation. Jaeger elaborated on Russia's multifaceted approach, from election manipulation to outright sabotage, intensifying the sense of urgency among European leaders. The implications of these behaviors have reached a tipping point. On September 10, over 20 drones crossed from Ukraine into Polish airspace, leading to swift military responses. Poland invoked Article 4 of the NATO treaty, drawing global attention and reactions. As NATO launched Operation Eastern Century, a new initiative to shore up defenses along its eastern front, further provocations only added to the tension. Dramatic incidents continued within days, with drones invading multiple countries' airspace, raising alarms and prompting military responses. Many world leaders are no longer willing to dismiss Russia's denials of involvement in these incursions as mere accidents. Zelensky succinctly stated, "These are calculated moves, not random blunders." Each close encounter heightens the suspense. What is Russia's endgame? The atmosphere grows thicker with each sighting, from Danish and Norwegian airspace to Germany's own borders. Reports of mysterious drones hovering near critical infrastructures highlight an unsettling reality. Yeager and other officials insist these incursions are indicative of an escalating campaign of espionage and aggression. As the stakes rise on the European front, the world watches with bated breath. How far is Russia willing to go? Will NATO stand united against these aggressions? Tensions continue to simmer. One can only contemplate the repercussions if the Kremlin decides to make its next move. The question remains, how prepared will the alliance be when the unexpected strike is finally unleashed? The intricate web of political tensions and military maneuvers has captivated global attention ever since the Russian invasion of Ukraine began. Politicians and analysts from every corner of the world are left asking the same daunting question: how far will Russia go? Now, it seems that the Kremlin's ambitions extend far beyond Ukraine, with intentions directed squarely at NATO itself. Germany's intelligence chief, Martin Jaeger, reveals a stark chilling prospect: an attack on a NATO nation appears imminent, potentially arriving sooner than many anticipated. With an impressive resume that includes roles in Germany's Federal Foreign Office and as the ambassador to war-torn regions like Afghanistan and Ukraine, Jaeger's insights carry weight. In a dire address at an intelligence summit in Berlin on October 13, he cautioned that the window for NATO's preparedness is rapidly closing. The stakes are higher than ever, as he insists the threat isn't a mere possibility years down the road. No, the danger is now. But what lies behind these reflections of urgency? Jaeger's alarming thoughts resonate with other prominent military leaders. General Alexis Grinkowicz, the commander of U.S. European Command, has shared haunting predictions, suggesting that a conflict reminiscent of World War III may emerge within just a handful of years. During a pivotal conference in Germany, he urged military and defense industries to escalate arms production, framing it as a necessity to counter Russian aggression. NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte also sounded the alarm, intimating that without robust military readiness, Europeans might have to adapt, to learn Russian, to survive the Kremlin's potential advance. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky continuously stresses the precarious situation, believing that Ukraine's resistance is merely delaying a larger confrontation that could ignite at any moment. Each seasoned leader warns of the specter of conflict looming over NATO within the next several years, yet it's Jaeger's acute observation that the Kremlin's offensive has already begun, shrouded in hybrid warfare tactics that blur the lines between peace and war itself. As tensions escalate, NATO's front lines are being pushed through unprecedented drone incursions and cyber-sabotage, a war of attrition that is insidiously taking shape right at Europe's doorstep. Jaeger describes this hybrid warfare in haunting detail, laying bare the reality that Russia views NATO as a rival to be undermined. The sinister tactics employed, from disinformation campaigns to aerial incursions, paint a picture of a border increasingly ablaze with confrontation, even without a declaration of war. How long can Europe remain in this state of cold peace, a precarious standoff that feels on edge, ready to ignite? With Russia's incursions weaving chaos into the fabric of Eastern Europe, leaders like Jaeger and Chancellor Friedrich Merz understand the bitter truth: while no active conflict is declared, the peace that once ruled has vanished. The Kremlin's calculated maneuvers, including drones straying into NATO airspace and systematic espionage, recount a chilling story where Europe is not merely a spectator but embroiled in a looming storm of geopolitical tensions. Are we prepared for what comes next? How ready is NATO for the full force of Russia's ambitions that seemingly stretch across the continent? The echo of conflict grows louder, and the time to act is now before this blurring line between war and peace dissolves into an all-out catastrophe. The intricate political landscape surrounding the Russian invasion of Ukraine has captured the world's attention, raising a critical question: how far will Russia go in its pursuit of power? Recent insights indicate that the Kremlin's ambitions extend beyond Ukraine, targeting NATO itself. Martin Jaeger, Germany's intelligence chief, warns of a chilling prospect: a Russian attack on a NATO member nation is not just possible, it could happen sooner than we think. With a remarkable background that includes key roles in Germany's Federal Foreign Office and ambassadorships in conflict zones like Afghanistan and Ukraine, Jaeger's warnings demand our attention. During a high-stakes intelligence summit in Berlin on October 13, he stressed that NATO must be ready, as the threat is not a distant concern, it is immediate. What drives this urgency? Jaeger's alarming foresight resonates with other prominent military figures across Europe. General Alexis Grinkowicz, commander of U.S. European Command, has ominously suggested that we might be on the brink of a conflict as grave as World War III within just a few years. At a pivotal conference in Germany, he implored military and defense industries to ramp up arms production, highlighting it as an essential step to counter Russian aggression. The urgency is amplified by NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte, who implied that Europeans may need to familiarize themselves with the Russian language if they fail to bolster their military defenses. Concurrently, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky remains undeterred, asserting that Ukraine's resistance is merely postponing a larger confrontation that could ignite at any moment. Each of these influential leaders paints a picture of a looming conflict that could envelop NATO in the next few years. Yet, Jaeger's penetrating observation reveals a more sinister reality. The Kremlin is already engaged in a hybrid offensive that obscures the line between peace and war. As tensions mount, NATO is facing unprecedented threats, from drone incursions to cyber attacks, a war of attrition lurking just beyond its borders. Jaeger's detailed account of this hybrid warfare provides unsettling context. He indicates that Russia considers NATO an adversary to be covertly dismantled. The tactics being employed, ranging from deceptive propaganda to aerial violations, reflect a region teetering on the brink of greater conflict, existing in a manufactured state of cold peace. How long can Europe sustain this delicate standoff, balancing the potential for conflict against the hope for diplomacy? With Russia's actions disrupting the stability of Eastern Europe, leaders like Jaeger and German Chancellor Friedrich Merz acknowledge a painful reality. While no conflict has been actively declared, the peace that once reigned has irrevocably changed. Incursions by Russian drones into NATO airspace and strategic espionage operations narrate a harrowing tale of a European landscape that has become entangled in an approaching storm of geopolitical conflict. Are we truly prepared for the upheaval that may lie ahead? How ready is NATO to withstand the full weight of Russia's expansive ambitions? The echoes of conflict are growing deafeningly close, and the urgency to act has never been clearer. The precarious fault line between peace and war is disappearing. A readiness to confront these challenges has never been more critical. What will become of Europe as these tensions rise, and will NATO be equipped to respond when the moment arrives? In the heart of Europe, shadows gather as a chilling warning reverberates. Could a Russian attack on NATO be imminent? The tension is palpable, as nations hold their breath, fearing what lies ahead. In a stark declaration, Sena Celan, the head of Germany's Federal Office for the Protection of the Constitution, has not minced words. He identifies Russia as the chief architect behind sabotaging actions across Germany and the continent. His condemnation is unyielding. Indeed, he asserts that Russia's maneuvers are brazenly aggressive and intent on destabilizing nations. Celan's analysis reveals a disturbing pattern. Russia is relentless in its pursuit of political dominance, adjusting its tactics not just against Germany but against all of Europe and its allies. The landscape is marked by espionage, disinformation, and a barrage of cyber attacks. Evidence is mounting. Most notably, the unsettling incident on September 10 saw over 20 Russian drones soaring across Ukraine, crossing into Poland's airspace like dark omens. In response, the Polish Air Force, bolstered by NATO allies, sprang into action, shooting down multiple drones and invoking Article 4 of the NATO treaty, signaling collective defense. The shockwaves from this event rippled through world capitals, prompting NATO to announce Operation Eastern Sentry on September 12. This strategic initiative aims to strengthen the alliance's eastern flank, mobilizing a formidable array of air, sea, and ground assets across Eastern Europe. Only a day later, Romania scrambled its own jets in a race against time to intercept another drone, coinciding with a Russian strike on Ukrainian infrastructure near its border. But the alarming escalations didn't stop there. Mere days later, 3 Russian MiG-31 fighter jets breached Estonian airspace, a bold transgression that lasted 12 minutes according to the Estonian Foreign Ministry. This wasn't merely an isolated incident, it marked the fourth such violation in just 1 year. Sealand's statement paints a grim picture, expressing that Russia's antics are no longer tolerable, pushing Europe closer towards confrontation. The question lingers, what will it take to rein in such brazen acts? Will NATO's resolve be enough to ward off an inevitable crisis? The stakes have never been higher, and the world watches, awaiting the next move in this high-stakes game.